Sure. Can I interview you for a moment?
Sure,
about
what's it about?
God. It's about God? Yes.
Sure, where do you want it? Here?
Let's interview
Okay.
there.
Oh, it's locked.
Oh, it's locked. Let me pick that up for you.
Thank you, Titus. You're such a good boy.
Because I love God.
Because God love you.
Of course.
Onto the room.
Okay.
Let us open the fan.
But Titus, what's the interview about?
I'm just going to ask you a few questions about Jesus.
Okay.
I know you are a very wonderful and very talented CLE teacher. But can I ask you a little question?
Yes, sure.
What can you say about the teachings of God, Jesus, I mean?
The teachings of Jesus, most teachers now will tend, teachers in the religious field or priests, CLE teachers, will often tend to say words that people will like. Diba? We want people to tell us about God's love, about God's forgiveness, God's mercy, how God will forgive us when we sin, how God will just save us from eternal death, from hardships. But Jesus' teachings, the important quality of his teachings was they were things that people needed to hear but did not want to hear. Diba? Parang he challenged people like the Pharisees who thought that they were really good people. And he told them, you brood of vipers, you hypocrites. Diba? He told them what they needed to hear. You know, when the people thought that being rich is a blessing, he tells them, blessed are you poor. Yours is the kingdom of heaven.
So,
He tells the truth that people need.
so are you trying to say is that Jesus is very frank?
Yes. And he tells the real story. Diba? The rich are going to, the good are going to heaven, but the rich who are not good will go to hell.
I know Jesus made a lot of wonderful miracles in his time. But what does the miracles mean to you?
Well, miracles, we're looking for them all the time. When people in our family are sick, we pray to God for a miracle. When you did not study for the quiz and you have a quiz the next morning, you pray for a miracle.
I agree.
No, but miracles are seldom given. Miracles are seldom given. Because in the first place, you should not ask for miracles. Diba? Miracles are God's interventions in our lives to show us that He is present. God gives miracles. And, when our attitude towards miracles should be that of acceptance. If they come, then they come. If they don't, then they don't. But what's important is, we don't look for wonders, but we look for God's presence. Kaya in the Old Testament, the miracle comes for Moses in the form of a burning bush. Something very ordinary in the desert. But Moses had eyes, had a heart that was keen enough to notice the miracle, to see the presence of God in the ordinary. And I think that's what miracles are.
Do you find the miracles and parables helpful to us Christians? Why?
Well, yes, of course, because the miracles tell us that Jesus is truly the Son of God, and it tells us what He is about. He came here not just to magpakitang tao, parang isang politiko na pupunta sa isang slum area at hindi pagkamayan sa mga tao doon. No. He came here to let the blind see, to let the lame walk, to free people from all sorts of afflictions. And the parables, they're like a teacher, teaching his lessons in a very interesting way using stories. And when you use stories, the advantage is you deliver the concepts, you deliver them in a richer, fuller way, and more so, mas marami kang makakuha sa isang story that you can just deliver using a concept. And Jesus teaches that way. He's a very fun person.
Do you think that the Beatitudes help you or us Christians to be a better person? And how?
The Beatitudes, first of all, the Beatitudes are hard to accept. Matthew tells us, blessed are the poor in spirit, but in Luke, simple lang, blessed are the poor, period. Now, you Titus, will you want to be poor?
Of course not. I want to be rich.
See, Jesus in the Beatitudes is showing us a different kind of mentality. One should not want to be rich. One should not make that one's aim in life. We should make our aim in life, to follow the will of God. And if that means that we have to sacrifice, we cannot be as rich as we should be, as we want to be, and to some extent be poor, diba? To follow the will of God, then so be it. Kaya kami hirap sundan yung beatitudes. But in the end, this is what will make us happy. Being rich will not necessarily make you happy, but if you do something good, you're at home, you're at peace with yourself, even though you are poor, you will be blessed. You have to accept it and follow it.
Now I understand. What can you say about the passion and death of Jesus?
The passion and death of Jesus. The passion and death of Jesus, from a historical viewpoint, hindi maiiwasan. Kasi, di ba, Jesus angered a lot of people. He angered people, powerful people, like the Pharisees, the people in government, because he said, as I've said kanina, to the truth that people needed to hear. And as far as they were concerned, this person had to die. And so from a historical viewpoint, you see Jesus like a prophet, very much like Osama bin Laden. Diba? Kaya nga pag ginawa mo palang Hebrew yung pangalan niya, Bin Laden na Bin Laden eh. Yesu bin Sager. Diba? Jesus of Nazareth. Mukha na siyang terorista. Pwede mo sabihin yun, na isa siyang terorista, nagalit sa kanya yung mga institusyon at pinapatay siya. But how did Jesus understand his own death? I think that's the more important thing. And for Jesus, he understood his own death as a form of sacrifice. He's not just being killed for what he said, but he's giving up his life freely for his sheep, for his people. He said, I am the good shepherd, and I lay down my life freely for my sheep, because I love them. Yun yung Jesus' passion and death. More than just a historical thing, but it's Jesus freely laying down his life for his friends.
Last question. Does the miracles and the parables and the Beatitudes have the connection to Jesus' death?
Yes, because as I've said, they lead to Jesus' death. These messages were so challenging, so disturbing, especially for the people during his time, that this provoked their anger and led historically to Jesus' death. Now, on the spiritual level, following the Beatitudes, following Jesus' example of compassion in the miracles, is the way to participate in his death. Diba? When you go help somebody, especially somebody you do not like, say a classmate na kinaiinisan mo, tutulungan mo siya, in the way you perform a miracle for him, diba? It's not good in math, but you try your best to teach him that. You're mirroring Jesus there. Diba? You're doing a sacrifice for good. Diba? You're being poor in spirit, you're giving up your pride, and reaching out to that person. And we know, of course, what will happen after the cross. It will lead to resurrection. Kaya nga, on the historical level, the teachings, the parables, the miracles lead to Jesus' death because it provokes the anger of people around him. But also, on the spiritual level, they show us how we can participate in the death of Jesus, and so doing, join him in his resurrection. Is that 5 titles?
Yes, that is very
Yes, I hope you do imitate Jesus because you're a very talented boy. I'm glad you have your haircut. Okay?
Yes.
And you are back to normal. Okay, I do hope that you grow up and strive to be more like Jesus. Thank you, Titus.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ocampo. I hope I can learn more about the passion of Christ.
Yes.
Thanks, sir.
So, bakit di ba